Okay, I'm going to go over the infographic one. I know a lot of you had a little bit of trouble with it, so this is my tutorial on what we did in class. Okay, I've already imported everything I need into the library, so you know how to do that. You know, the file import to library. All the files are the same we used in class. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is rename my layer 1 to background. Okay, I'm going to set up a span, so I'm going to go to 60, right click, insert frames, and I set up my span for my background. I'm going to go to frame 1. I'm going to go get my background, which is my texture background, drag it and drop it onto the screen, and then let's go to properties and set the X to 0 and the Y to 0, and that just centers it. Alrighty, so that one's done. So let's do a new layer. Let's name this one Loon. Okay, and we're going to go to frame 10. We know it's 10. If we go down here, you can see it's 10. Right click, insert keyframe. And what that's going to do is that's going to start that loon at frame 10. And I'm going to get rid of all the excess frames. I only need it to be at 10. Okay, so let's go back to library. Let's look for loon. I want the loon PNG. Grab it, drag it to the screen. And let's go to free transform tool and make this a little bit smaller. So I'm going to hold down the shift. I'm going to make it a little smaller and set it up about where I want it. Now I'm going to go to view and rulers because I like to get those guides so all of them are kind of together. So I'm going to click in here, grab it, and let's set a guide. Let's say about there. We're going to put another guide, give it room, maybe about there. Same thing on the other side. What I'm doing is I'm just evening out each side so that I can, when I create my rectangle, my black rectangle for it to live in, that's where it'll go. Okay, and I'm also going to create the guides for where my picture is. So I'm going to grab that. I'm actually going to bring this in slightly, so I'm going to put this one about there. Okay, I'm going to go to the selection tool, and let's move this over slightly so it fits right in where I want it. Okay, next thing. Let's go to the rectangle tool. Click it, hold it, grab the rectangle tool. Let's go to properties, make sure it's at black, which it is, and I'm going to make sure my fill is at nothing. I do not want to fill. Okay, so then I'm going to go up to the upper left hand corner, click, drag, and drop my black background. Last thing on this little area I'm going to do for now is text. So click text. I'm going to make sure my text is in white. And let's change my size here to 25. And then I'm going to click somewhere around here and type loon. Okay, go back to my selection tool so that I can move it around. If you notice, I grab it when I put it to the top. Well, this one doesn't do. The Max does it. It actually has a white line, but this one doesn't do it. It's okay. We can just use the nudge to put it exactly where we want it. I think right there looks good. Okay, so far that's all I'm going to do for this layer. I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to name this layer buttons. And this is where all my buttons will live. Okay, so I'm going to take this layer, I'm going to drop it below loon. Okay, and then on frame 1, I'm going to go to my library, get my thumbnail of my loon, bring it in, drop it. Okay, and then right away I'm going to make this into a symbol. So modify, convert to symbol. I'm going to name this Loon Button. I'll make sure this says button, not movie clip. Registration's fine where it's at, and just hit OK. And now I have a button. I'm going to double click my button, and let's go in here and we're going to set this up. So first thing I'm going to do is name my layer. I'm going to name it button. And I'm going to add a keyframe in over and in down. Okay, so right click, insert keyframe. Okay, add a new layer. Let's name this one text. And in the over, I'm going to right click, insert keyframe, and in down, right click, insert keyframe. Okay, last one, I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to name that audio. And only in the down, I'm going to right click and insert keyframe. I'm going to leave the other two alone. Okay, so while I'm highlighted on down in audio, I'm going to go to my library. I'm going to go find my sound, grab it, drag it, and drop it on the screen. And what you should see is that orange line. Okay, that means the sound is there. So my text, I'm going to click on Over. I'm going to go get my text tool. I'm going to go to Properties, make sure it's at white, and I'm going to set my text to 20. And then I'm going to go somewhere under the loon, click and type loon. Okay, then let's go to the selection tool and move this down some. So I want to kind of have that centered underneath of there. Okay, right there. Alrighty, so that's all I need for this particular button. Let me go back to scene 1. And right now, that button, other than the actions, is done. So we're going to go to loon. I only do this so it goes on top. So let's add a new layer on top. Let's name that actions. And this is where all our actions live. Now remember, on actions, we only need it in frame 1. So let's get rid of all those other frames. Okay, so go into frame 1. I'm going to click on my button. I'm still in frame 1, even though I clicked on my button. Actually, let me just do this because I have to hit the stop. So right click right in here and hit this actions. And remember, the first thing we need to do is hit stop. Okay, so let's go to our snippets, go to action script, timeline navigation, and stop at this frame. We want it to stop at frame 1. We don't want it to continue on. Okay, so now from here we're going to continue doing the actions for this button. So I'm going to stay here. I'm going to go back into the snippets. Okay, this time I'm going to go into Event Handler. I'm going to click my button, double click mouse click event. It's going to ask me for an instance name. Just hit OK. And there's my code for it. Now I'm going to go back and hit my button again, go into snippets, and this time I'm going to tell it what to do. So timeline navigation, click to go to frame and stop. Double click that. Okay, and then we want to change this 5 to 10 because we want it to go to frame 10. All right, so let's come out of here, X out of here, X out of here, and let's test this real fast. So we go to Control Test. And I'm on my own machine. Well, actually, not quite my own, but I'm at home, so this is much slower. So if I hover over, you see the loon. If I click it, you see the loon. Now I don't have my sound up, so you're not going to be able to hear it, but everything else comes up like exactly like I want it to. So I'm going to say that that works. Okay, let's go back to timeline. Now let's add the next one. Go to the loon layer, create a new layer, and we're going to call this one Hawk. Okay, this one we want to start at 15, so I'm going to go to frame 15. I'm going to right click, insert keyframe, and then I'm going to go over here and highlight all of them except on 15 and right click and remove frames. Again, I only want something in frame 15. So let's go to the library. Let's go find my Hawk ping. I'm going to grab it, drag it to the screen. Okay, it's a little bigger than I want, so I'm going to go to free transform. I'm going to hold the shift and resize it a little bit. Okay, so let me go to the selection tool, and now I can move it, and I want to put it right in where I had the other one, and that's why I set up my guides. Okay, so now that I set up my guides, I can also work with the rectangle tool. So let's go to the rectangle tool, go to properties, make sure this is set at black, okay, and it is no stroke. So I'm going to go in the upper left hand corner, I'm going to click and drag and make that box. Okay, last thing, grab the text, change my text color back to white, change this to 25 because that's what we had it before, and I'm going to click in here and type Hawk. Okay, go back up to my selection tool and I can move it around now. Let's bring it up there so it's kind of even with the picture. Okay, so then I'm going to come back into the buttons because now I need to make the button for it. Go into my library and let's get the Hawk thumb. Let's grab it, drag it to the screen, and there's my thumb. And let's make this into a symbol. So modify, convert to symbol. Let's name this Hawk button. Make sure it says button and hit OK. Now I have my Hawk button. Let's double click that and we're going to do the same thing we did with the other one. Let's make this a layer named button. Click under over. Right click, insert keyframe, down, right click, insert keyframe. Okay, make a new layer. Let's name this one text. And let's go to over, insert keyframe, and down, insert keyframe. And we didn't do that with up because it already had a keyframe in it. Okay, and the last thing, another layer, name it audio, and only go to down, right click and insert keyframe. Okay, so let's bring that audio, we're highlighted under the down, so I'm going to go find my audio, which is this right here, grab it, drag it, and drop it on stage. Okay, and if you look, you can see that orange line. Now text, we're going to click under the over, we're going to go get our text tool. Let's go to properties, set it up, we're going to set this at 20, and then I'm going to go somewhere under the Hawk, click and type Hawk. Okay, let's go into the selection tool so I can move it around, and let's bring it somewhere in the middle where you can see it. Okay, alright, that's all we need to do in this particular one, so let's go back to scene 1. So now I have both of these, and both of them lead me to somewhere, but I haven't done the actions for this one yet. So let's go into actions, right click, actions. Okay, go at the very bottom of this and go to the snippets, action script 3, go to event handlers. Let's click the Hawk, double click mouse click event. It's going to ask for that instance, just hit OK, and let's go to the bottom, do it again. Snippets, now this time go up to timeline navigation. Let's click our Hawk, and then click to go to frame and stop, double click. And then let's change this 5, let's add a 1, and now it's 15 because that's where I have the Hawk living. Okay, so let's come out of here and let's test this. So we go to control test, and see, look, if we hover over them, they work. If I click Hawk, there you go, it works. Again, I don't have the sound on, so you're not going to be able to hear that. So let's come out of here, go back into the timeline, and let's do the last one. So from Hawk, I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to call this one Whale. Okay, this time I'm going to go to 20. Right click, insert keyframe, and now let's highlight all those frames on the other side and remove them. Okay, we only want this to live at 20. So now let's go get our picture of our whale. Let's see, I have humpback whale PNG. Grab it, drag it to screen. Now this one's a little bit bigger. Let's go to the free transform. Hold the shift down. Let's make it a smaller size. And let's move it up into this corner right here. Okay, let's go to the move. Now let's put the black background behind it. So I'm going to go to the rectangle tool. Let's go to properties, set this to black, no stroke, and go into this corner, and let's make that black backdrop. Okay, last thing, get the text. Go in, let's make the text white. We're setting it at 25, and then I'm going to come around here and type in whale. Okay, and let's go to the selection tool and bring that down kind of in line with it. Okay, so from here we want to go back to buttons. Let's make the button for the whale. Let's go to library, go to your thumbnail, grab it and drag it to screen. It's a little bit bigger, so let's bring that down some. Free transform, hold the shift, bring down the size to fit with the others, so maybe just slightly. There you go. Okay, now from here I'm going to go to modify, convert to symbol. This one's going to be whale button. Make sure it says button, type button, and hit OK. And there's my button. Now let's do the actions for this button. So I'm going to go into my actions, go to the very bottom, let's go to snippets, action script, event handlers. I'm going to click my whale and then double click mouse click event. It's going to ask me for instance. I hit OK and it gives me the code. Come to the bottom, unhighlighted, and then let's continue on the bottom. Go back to snippets, click my whale, and let's tell it where to go now. So timeline navigation, let's click to go to frame and stop. So double click, and let's change this. We moved this one to 20, so let's change that to a 20. And come out of here, and let's go check that one. So we go to control test, And look, if we hover, it doesn't work because guess what I forgot to do? Okay, so come out of here. Let's go into the whale, double click. See, I forgot this part. Let's put button. Let's do over, insert keyframe, down, insert keyframe. Let's do a new layer, name it text. Go to over, insert keyframe, down, insert keyframe. Let's do one more. Audio, go to down only, right click, insert keyframe. And now let's go get our sound. So this particular one is right here. So I'm going to grab it and drag it and drop it, and you should see the sound come up here. Okay, the last thing is text. So let me click on the over, go get my text tool, go to properties, make sure it's white. Let's set this to 20 and go under my whale and let's type in whale. Okay, go back to my selection tool so that I can kind of center it. And it might be a little bit hard to see it at this point, but it'll be much easier to see once it's over the background. Okay, so let's go back to scene 1 and let's test. So control, test. And if we hover, there you go. There's the whale, the hawk, and the loon. So if I click whale, there's my whale. Again, you're not going to hear the sound because I don't have the sound set on this so that I can record instead. Okay, so come out of here. So I have all that working. Now let's put the X's in. So let's start at the loon. So go to loon. I'm going to go to my text tool. I'm going to make sure that it's set at white and size doesn't, I'm just going to leave it at 25. That's fine. I'm going to click up in the upper right hand corner and I'm going to type X. Okay, go to my selection tool or move tool as I like to call it, and let's move this so it's in the corner. Okay. Now while it's still selected, I'm going to go right up to modify and make it a symbol. Okay, so let's name this one loon close button, and we have it set at type button. Hit OK, and let's go right into actions. So from here I'm going to go right up to window, go to actions, and let's set up these actions. Snippet, again the same thing we've been doing. Action script, event handler. First you have to tell it what to do. I've already have it selected, so double click mouse click event, ask for instance, say OK, click the down below it, go back to your snippets, and this time timeline navigation, click to go to frame and stop. So double click that. It's the same. Whoops, see, I forgot to click my X. So click on your X to highlight it, double click, go to frame and stop, and now change that 5 to 1 because we want every time that X is hit we want it to go back to frame 1. That's what we're telling it. Okay, so let's come out of here and let's do the same thing for the hawk. Let's go to our text tool. It's already set at white, set it the size. I'm going to click up here, click X, go to selection. Let's move that X into the corner. I'm just using the arrows to kind of nudge it into the corner. I'm going to go ahead and make it into a symbol. This one's going to be the hawk close button. Type button, hit OK. Go to window and actions, snippet, action script, event handler. We already have it highlighted, so double click mouse click event. It's going to ask for instance, say OK. There's my code. Go back and hit the X for the button. Go back into action script, into timeline navigation, and click to go to frame and stop. Okay, double click. And again, we want this one to be just like the last one and go to frame 1 when we click the X. Okay, so that one's done. Now let's go to the last one. Right here, the whale. Let's go to our text. Everything else stayed the same. So we're going to click up here. We're going to type X. Go into my selection and move it down some so it's kind of in the corner. Okay, while it's still highlighted, modify, convert to symbol, name it whale close button. Whoops, spell it right, and type button and hit OK. And let's go and put in the actions. Okay, snippets, action script, event handler. We already have it highlighted. Double click mouse click event. Instance name, OK. Click at the bottom. Go back into your code snippets. Timeline navigation. Now let's click that X again because we got to select it. And now click to frame and click to go to frame and stop. Double click. Okay, and again, this last one is at 1 as well. Okay, so all of the X's now will take us back to frame 1. Let's test it out. Okay, control test. And there we go. All 3 of them work. Click on hawk. You see the hawk. Click on the X. It takes me back. Whale takes me back. And loon takes me back. And that's it, guys. That's the 3 of them. That's as quick as it. It's actually very quick once you get the hang of it. You just keep going. You need 9 of them. So I put my file up that I did in class on Blackboard so that you can see my file and what I did. You can even go into my actions if you want and see what happened there. I hope this helps.